I've got something you'll be interested in. Those performance upgrades we discussed after the last race. They're on the car and the data looks promising. Take a look at the details.
Thank you, Chris. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sauber Career Mode, part number 5 of it, for round 5 of the first season. As you can see, we're starting off the episode with an upgrade, the aerodynamics upgrade that we purchased in Bahrain, but also getting a new part fitted with regards to our durability, which we purchased during the Russian Grand Prix after all our gearbox troubles during the practice sessions, which resulted in us having to take a gearbox penalty. But if you didn't check out the last episode, I recommend you do. It was an absolute cracking race. But yeah, this is us just looking into the development tree. As you can see, we are still behind McLaren. That's mainly because of the fact they also had an upgrade for this particular race. So that means we are still just behind them at the moment. But it looks like we are making our little inroad into that midfield scrap. But in order for us to do that, we need more resource points. But without further ado, let us get into practice 1 for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Over the next few minutes, the teams will be heading out onto this classic Formula 1 track for what we're expecting to be a very hectic practice session. A warm welcome once again to the man standing beside me in the commentary box for this session, Anthony Davidson. Hello, Ant. Excited to get underway?
Yeah, absolutely. I always look forward to seeing the cars get out there on track. And they probably won't be on the limit immediately, of course. We know that 1 or 2 of the teams are looking to do some work on new aerodynamic packages, so that always takes some time to get into. But it'll be really interesting to see later on in the session what kind of performance gains are there to be found.
Alright, here we are in practice 1 for the Spanish Grand Prix, starting off with the track acclimatization as we come through turn 1 and turn 2 as we head up towards now turn 3. The corners around here are a lot faster than what we've seen in previous years, primarily because of our extra aerodynamics on the 2017 cars, so we're going to be able to go a lot faster around this particular circuit. This was actually the first circuit where these new 2017 cars ran in anger with regards to the pre-season testing, as we already have managed to get the track acclimatization or maximum number of resource points available. I thought I'd show you one lap, the final lap, primarily because we managed to get the maximum possible score available to us, which was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, that was just a good momentum builder for all that as we started the practice session. We then moved on into the tyre wear test, and as you can see, we're doing pretty well in this as well. Like what we did in Russia, where it looks like we're going to be able to get the purple objectives as we come across the line right now. Yep, we do, and that means we only have to do 1 lap in the time management test and we get the maximum number of resource points. We then moved on into the race strategy, primarily because the weather on practice 2, which is where we normally do our race strategy, was not expected to be very good. It was meant to be raining, so I decided to do the race strategy from here. It seems a reasonable thing to do. And yeah, we once again did everything that we needed to do. We got all the maximum number of lap times that you can do in this practice session, and yeah, we managed to get the maximum number of resource points from that. We then cut into practice 2, and as you can see, the weather has completely turned from the morning practice, and we then decided to just do the fuel saving in this particular practice session, primarily because it's probably the easiest one to do. But again, unlike what we managed to do in Russia, where we managed to get the purple score for the fuel saving, like the first 3 rounds, we were unable to get the maximum number of resource points available, and we just about managed to obtain the green pass score, and that means we only get a smaller number of resource points, but at least we managed to pass and we managed to get those resource points there. We then move on into the qualifying program for the final session. As you can see, we managed to fail on our first lap, which was a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit trickier around this particular circuit. It's not really one of my favourites on the overall track calendar, especially on the games. But as the second lap progressed, I think we found a lot more time on the track, and we were able to then get the green lap time from this. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go purple, but it's one of those things, I guess, and we just have to see what we can do in qualifying.
Here we are at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the start of today's qualifying session. It won't be long now until we're ready to join the action down at trackside. Looking at this field today, Ant, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance? Maybe run the harder of the available compounds and save some of the grippy tyres for the race tomorrow?
Well, I'd be surprised in all honesty. It's only the front runners that really have the pace to get away with that. And even then, at the end of the day, it's a big risk. Track position is the most important thing, and it's rarely worth sacrificing for a slightly more optimal strategy in the race, so I doubt we're going to see anyone trying it. I have been wrong before though. We certainly do see some risky decisions every now and then, and it's a gamble that's sometimes worth taking. But if it were me in the car, I would want to be on the fastest tyre for my qualifying lap, without a doubt.
Alright, here we are, starting our first lap in Q1 at the Circuit de Catalunya on this glorious day in Spain. As always though, the first lap is mainly just to try and get a lap time that's on the board, such that we then have a lap delta in the top right hand corner once we start putting some more lap times on the track. But as we cut away to the end of lap 2, as you can see, we did a 1:24.7 the first time around, but as you can see, we are up by about 3/10 in this second lap, so it looks like we're going to be improving our lap time. Don't improve position though, we're down in 18th, but we do drop down to 19th because I think Van Dorn was just behind us on the race circuit there. That's why we dropped down another position. As you can see, on lap 3 when we were able to improve our lap time, as you can see, we're now back up into P18 for now. We're also up on our fourth lap, which is fantastic, although we make a little bit of a mistake into this corner, wanting a little bit too much curb on that sharp left and right hand combination, and we lost a little bit of time right there as we now come across the line to end lap 4. It's only about a tenth where we've managed to improve our lap time, so we thought let's go out for one more last gas lap. I don't think we're going to get into Q1, get out of Q1, but let's see what we do. It looks like we are improving again though. This is going to be our final lap though, as the checkered flag is now out. Let's see where we end up on the grid. And it's only 18th place, so it looks like it is back to reality for us after a very surprising Russian Grand Prix qualifying, where we end up getting into Q2, if you guys remember that episode. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get through. But to be honest, I was kind of expecting it, primarily because it's a very downforce-esque track, and the Sauber car isn't really used to that. The fact, though, we managed to split the... I got in front of a McLaren, though, which is fantastic, and also we managed to out-qualify their line, and also managed to get the team objective, so that's all well and good. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough resource points to purchase another upgrade, but I'm hoping we can then save them up ready for the next Grand Prix, which will, fingers crossed, mean that we will start either improving more chassis weight, aerodynamics, or engine performance. But without further ado, let's now get on into the race.
Davidson is here with me today. Together we'll be taking you through all the action of this Spanish Grand Prix. It can be hard for the cars to follow each other closely here due to the dirty air coming off the car in front. So perhaps we're looking at a more strategic Grand Prix, Ant. What do you think on that?
I'm not too sure about that, Crofty. I mean, yes, as you say, it's hard to follow around here, but if you're brave on the brakes, you can get the job done down into turn 1, which is a medium-speed corner, so you have to be committed. And looking down at this grid today, I think we're going to see 1 or 2 drivers making a move from a long way back, maybe try to force their opponent into a mistake. I don't think this is a race that's going to be purely decided in the pit stops.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Felipe Massa and Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Kvyat and Sergio Perez, Magnussen, Ocon, Carlos Sainz and Grosjean, Stroll, Alonso, Jolyon Palmer and a Sauber. Van Dorn and Pascal Wehrlein completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck.
Alright, welcome to the grid. Let's have a quick look at the race strategy for today's race. In terms of the actual strategy that the team has suggested, they're saying to start on the medium tyre, but then go on to the hards for later. But what I decided to do, first off, give myself a little bit more fuel, because I want to give myself some rich fuel mixture. If we make it past some faster cars, I need to use some of that rich fuel mixture to stay ahead. But also, we're going to switch it to a hard tyre to start with, and then switch to the mediums for later on, similar sort of way in which how the strategy worked in Russia, where we're going to be on that hard tyre for a good while, and if a safety car does get thrown, we'll be in a really strong position in terms of trying to make up positions, make up track position as well. So yeah, I think this is ideally the best strategy, because if a safety car is called early, then we're going to stay out on those hard tyres and just try and keep as many cars as we can behind. Yes, it says the projected time is meant to be a little bit slower, but personally, I prefer this strategy. It just means that we can have a little bit more fun towards the end of the race and be a little bit quicker as well. And maybe we have an opportunity to overtake some cars at the end. So we'll have to wait and see on that front, though. Let's get into the formation lap. Again, objective is to try and get as many positions as we possibly can at this race. It's going to be a tricky one, though, because Spain isn't really one of my favourite circuits on the calendar. But we just have to wait and see in terms of what happens in the actual race. No glitches this time, unfortunately, on the formation lap, as we now get ready to start the race. Lights out and away we go, and it's a shocking getaway for us. That allows Wehrlein to get in front of us prior to turn one. It's a very long straight down in towards the first braking zone, a bit similar to Russia, but we managed to go up the inside of both Alonso and also our teammate, trying to go side by side with Jolyon Palmer as we head to the left and right combination into the long right-hander of turn 3. See if we can try and carry as much speed as possible to see if we can possibly make a move up towards turn 4. Let's not do anything what the two Mercedes did in real life last season. Got up the inside of Palmer, now trying to go side by side with Stroll, but Stroll's managed to fend us off as we head up towards turn 5. Going to cut back to the inside though for turn 5 to try and get in front of the Williams, and now we're up another position, up into 15th place. Decent start now after a poor initial getaway, as we now come on to lap 2. Stroll's looking very feisty behind me, so it's going to be a little bit of a struggle if we're going to try and keep this guy behind us, because he's got that Mercedes powered engine, we've got the year-old Ferrari engine, plus the fact that our aerodynamics are absolutely shocking around this. We've got a yellow flag though, and that is the other Williams of Felipe Massa that is off the circuit. It doesn't look like he's retired just yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's go on to a replay. Looks like he just completely misses the braking point and he just stops to let everybody else pass, but it doesn't look like he's going to be retiring, because he actually starts getting going again, as you can see right there. But a couple of corners later, as we get up towards the turn 1 braking zone, he locks up again, so it looks like he must have some sort of brake issue or something. So that means we've managed to gain a position there. That's not been a good start for the Brazilian. He was doing so well, actually. He was in front of the Mercedes and the Ferrari at the time, I think Hamilton and also Raikkonen, as Stroll, his teammate, tries to wrest position back from us round the outside into turn 1 on lap 3, just before the DRS was in operation. But we were able to fend him off right there, and we were able to keep 14th place for now. But it's obviously going to be a big battle between ourselves, but we've somehow managed to perfect the last couple of corners, just so we've got a good enough gap between ourselves and Stroll, so that his Mercedes engine power is counteracted by the fact that we managed to have a good exit off the last couple of corners, to ensure that there's not enough straight for him to catch us up and overtake us. So yeah, we've managed to find a way around that, which was fantastic. Meanwhile, further ahead, Lewis Hamilton got stuck behind the Toro Rosso of Daniel Kvyat, and as you can see, he's now trying to go up the inside of the Russian into turn 1, but he locks up though and forces Kvyat wide, and looks like the Russian's going to take the position back. But Hamilton's still there on the outside. That becomes the inside line for turn 3, and side by side all the way through turn 3 right there, and Hamilton has taken the position finally. He's been stuck behind him since the start of the race, and it was really important for him to start making a move. We're now on to lap 7 on our perspective. We've got a yellow flag though that's in play, which could cause a couple of headaches somewhere, but the yellow flag seems to be moving, so it looks like it's a car that's gradually coming to a halt. It's actually going to trigger also a virtual safety car, and that is Daniel Kvyat out of the race again. So really disappointing luck for the Russian. He started off so well, keeping Hamilton behind for so long, but unfortunately for him, the engine starts to go, as you can see, as we come through the third sector, and only decides to pull off as soon as we get to the chicane part of the last 2 corners. As you can see, coming through in this now, he decides to pull off just before the left and right hand combination, and he is out of the race. It's his second retirement in 3 races there, and unfortunately though, the virtual safety car didn't last too long, and Stroll was able to catch us up a little bit, primarily because I think he's got the Delta time a little bit better than what I've managed to do, so that's why Stroll's able to close that gap. But anyways, cutting back to the front of the field, Sebastian Vettel, who lost out to Valtteri Bottas at the start, is taking the lead back from the Mercedes driver and is now back into first place. He's looking for his second win of the season after a poor showing out in Russia, if you guys remember from that episode. Anyways, we're now back on board with our point of view. As you can see, actually starting to make up a couple of positions, primarily because of drivers making their pit stops after starting on the soft tyres. They actually could be making, I think, either 2 or possibly 3 stops. I don't know what the drivers that are doing 3 stops are doing in terms of strategy. I think that's a really, really poor decision, considering the best strategy last season in real life was a 2-stopper. Anyways, we're now on to lap 10, and we've got Felipe Massa behind us now. He seems to have recovered from his braking issues or somewhat. He must have had that resolved in the pit stops, and he's giving us a little bit of a headache here as we're trying to get these hard tyres to last. Massa's now in the slipstream of us. He's now going to go up the inside at the end of the second sector. It's going to cost us a little bit of time as we head up through towards the second sector. We've been forced wide, or third sector, we've been forced wide into that hairpin left corner, and that's going to cost a little bit more time. And then 1 lap later, we've got Hamilton, who's already made his first pit stop, trying to make a move on us round the outside at the same corner that Massa tried to overtake us. We make a little bit of contact between the two of us. We're able to fend him off for now, but it's only very temporary though, as we head up towards the start-finish straight to start lap 13. The superior Mercedes power and downforce and the overall car itself takes effect, and Hamilton just blitzes straight past us, and we are down into 7th place. So we're in 7th at the moment, but I expect us to drop further down the field as the fastest cars start to make their way around us. It's just a question of how long we can keep these cars behind us as we get to the end of lap number 17 to start lap 18. We've got a car in the pits, and that is Hamilton making his second pit stop for hard tyres. So it looks like he's going to be going to the end of the race. We've got 2 laps to go until it's our pit stop time to switch to the mediums. And in those 2 laps, no one managed to overtake us. So we're able to maintain same position for now. We're now going to drop a couple of positions as we come into the pits. Let's hope that the mechanics do well and we're able to get out in a reasonable position. Maybe we can gain positions from where we were prior to the first pit stops happening.
Go now.
Thank you very much, pit crew. Looks like we're going to be rejoining just outside the points there as we accelerate out of the pit lane. We've got a car on the left-hand side accelerating down the straight, and that is Carlos Sainz going to overtake us, relegating us temporarily, I think, to 13th, because he's on soft tyres again, which looks like he's going to be having to make another pit stop, and we're going to gain that position back a bit later on as we now come to the end of lap 21, getting a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner there. Unfortunately not going into the gravel trap, as a couple of cars have been making up their pit stops, probably their final pit stops, as we now move up to 9th place ahead of Romain Grosjean, who's one of those drivers that has made their final pit stops. Remember that name for a bit later on in the race, as we now cut to one lap later at the same sort of spot. More cars are in the pits. We're up into 8th place now as Grosjean's teammate Kevin Magnussen makes his final pit stop, and as you see, Sainz isn't really getting too far away from us. He must have been on those soft tyres for a good while now, so that's the reason why he's not pulling away from us. And sure enough, at the end of that lap, he comes into the pits, and we're going to inherit his position. We're now up to a fantastic 7th place, but remember, I mentioned Romain Grosjean. He's been catching us at a rate of knots with his fresher medium tyres. He's looking to try and take a position away from us as we come up towards turn 1. He's got ahead of us prior to the braking zone. We're able to brake a little bit later than the Frenchman and take the position back and ensure we had the inside line for the second part of turn 1 and turn 2 and ensure we maintain position. On lap 25 though, Grosjean tries to go around the outside and locks up though, and unfortunately he's unable to take the position off us. And now we've got Perez joining the party as well, so it's going to be a little bit of a train that's going to start forming behind us, primarily because of our one-stop strategy, trying to get these tyres to last. And Grosjean tries to go around the outside 2 laps later on lap 27, but again he's unable to do so. He got the braking point right this time, but he was unfortunate to try and make the move. So we now come on to a couple of laps later, on lap 29. We're actually getting lapped by the leader, I think Sebastian Vettel. Looks like Perez has let them through. Grosjean's about to let Vettel through, and looks like Perez is going to take advantage there. Vettel goes through, but then I get a good big whack from Perez, who tries to do the same move that he did to Grosjean whilst Grosjean was being lapped. But this time it didn't really work out for him, and unfortunately for him, he's got a little bit of front wing damage, which means we're able to pull away for a little bit there. And also the fact that we had DRS from the Ferrari as well. And as you can see, we've managed to pull out a little bit of a gap over Perez. I think because of the lack of front end grip that he's struggling with that front wing damage. And Grosjean is able to take 8 spots away from the Mexican, so that's not a very good, what wasn't a very good idea from Checo to try and be a bit too greedy of those positions. He might have been able to take us a little bit later on. As we now come to the penultimate lap for us, because we're now a lap down, getting blue flags again, but Grosjean is closing in on us, so I'm not going to be moving out of the way just yet, and plus the car behind is a bit too far, and Grosjean tries to go around the outside into turn 1, tries to keep it in for turn 2, but he's unable to do so, and we are able to fend him off, and he looks like he's going to have to give up the a bit of trap time to the back marker, as Grosjean now tries to go one last attempt round the outside into the hairpin left prior to the end of the second sector and the start of the third sector. The car that lapped us was Raikkonen. As we now come through the final sector here, it looks like we're going to be able to maintain the position, and we're going to take an unbelievable 7th place. That's 1 position higher than what Wehrlein managed in the race as well, as we completely get out of shape though into the last two corners. If there was one more lap, Grosjean might have had us here, but it looks like we're going to come across the line and take a fantastic 7th place.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Kimi Raikkonen takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
From my point of view, it would have to be the Sauber driver. They pushed and pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
And here's how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari moved to the top of the table. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Sauber, whose good result moves them further up the championship. That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.
So it's back-to-back driver of the days for us. Thank you very much, Anthony Davidson. Anyways, confirmation of the results from the Spanish Grand Prix. Vettel leading a Ferrari 1-2, with Raikkonen in 2nd, Bottas in 3rd, Verstappen in 4th, Hamilton in 5th, Ricciardo 6th, ourselves in an impressive 7th, Grosjean on 8th, Hulkenberg 9th, and Kevin Magnussen taking the final points for Haas in 10th, to a double point score for the American squad. Really good performance from there. I'm just using the American word right there, using the word squad, but yeah, you can't really complain too much, and only just the 1 retirement, whilst Massa was unable to make up any more positions after recovering from the brake issues. We now cut to the Drivers' Championship. We actually move up 1 position in front of Felipe Massa, due to Brazilian failing to score. Raikkonen moves back to the top of the standings following Hamilton's disappointing weekend. Raikkonen was able to make a lot more progress compared to Hamilton, despite the gearbox penalties that they had. Verstappen moves ahead of his teammate Ricciardo, and Hulkenberg and also Grosjean move up in the standings as well. If we have a quick look further down, as you see, that's what the championship looks like further down. And if we look at the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari moved back to the top. But we're one of the big movers, moving up into an unbelievable 5th place in front of Haas and also Williams. I'm not expecting us to keep that though, considering we've got so many circuits and such a long way to go. We're only a quarter of the way through the season 1, and I'm expecting those teams that have currently got points to the board to get more points to the board. I very much doubt we're going to be able to outscore them over the course of the season. We're only really in front of Haas, primarily because of the fact that we had a higher racing finishing position. So It's only really temporary, though, that we're going to be in this position. But it's nice to have those 14 points in the bag. I think we've got more points than what the Sauber team have got in real life, and also what they managed last season. So, cumulatively, we're doing better than the last 2 seasons, which is absolutely fantastic. We were so close as well to winning the rivalry against Vale, and we might be able to do it in either Monaco or possibly in Canada. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. This is going to be the end of episode 5. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all for the next episode, which will be part 6, and it will be the Monaco Grand Prix. So until then, see you later.